What is up, everybody? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Tom. Analyst is work you find over at MMA Junkie, as well as theactionnetwork.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, well, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's before the fight, recording in my usual time, Thursday night, about 7:30ish. It's going to be me today. We'll see how fast we can get through UFC Vegas 96, UFC on ESPN 62, UFC Fight Night, Cannonier versus Borralho. We'll go from top to bottom as per usual. Nice to see the usuals piling into the chat. We got Rain Lamina in the house. Rain Lamina, the Craig Jones Invitational of making Third Reichist look sensational. That's a great one. This card is a mess. What am I going to do? What am I going to do is print out your plays and root for you to get a win. Oh, thank you. I mean, you really should be fading him and guys getting a fortune. I mean, that is the thing. Like, I want to be a resource and a hipster favorite. Little did I know I would be a fading resource and such a hipster favorite. There'd be, just a handful of you, but I support. It's more than a handful. I joke. Thank you guys for subscribing and all that stuff. I don't deserve it. But yeah, we're going to get through this. I guess I should plug stuff at Dan Tom MMA if you want to find me on the socials, YouTube or Substack for stuff there, but I'm not really going to advertise it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. Sorry I'm late this week. Usually I at least have the fluid thoughts out, but try to save you guys the excuses. Just, usual chaos stuff, car shop. Not the dog I've been meaning to take to the vet. The other one had an issue, and it's just an ear infection, so I just got to get some medicine. 10 to 2 after this. But yeah, just, God forbid Dan Tom can, just sit down and focus on the fucking fights. Not that it would matter, because I still will end up killing myself and putting more time than others, and we see how that's going. But you guys know what I mean. It's who gives a shit, actually, if you guys do or don't, because I don't want to waste your guys' time with it. You guys are too kind to be here. So let's get to the breakdown. I just wanted to apologize for those who support me, whether it's a free subscription or a paid one. It means a lot, and either way, even though I don't promise anything either way, either it's just for you guys to support me and still get something and all that, I still hold myself up to a standard, and I still feel bad if I don't deliver on time. So apologies, but to round it out, as we'll get to here, I'm going to give you guys all my thoughts. I don't know how much of an edge, depending on what week it is or if you're even a gambler or not for the Fluid Thoughts article. But, I wouldn't have had that much to give you, you know what I'm saying? Outside of some of the top fights. Of course, I didn't even realize till today that the UFC cards and their bookings are so trash that even though they mainly book off the Contender Series, they do book from other ways, via short notice and whatnot. I was like, who are these jokers on the main card that we'll get to? And I'm like, oh, it's Tough. And I haven't watched Tough since the late Kimbo Slice competed, Tough 10, folks. So I'm very excited. I was very excited this week to realize that I get to go carve through Tough episodes when I could be, carving through the Southpaw report that I need to finish. That, of course, outside of the main event, which I already have ready to go and I haven't had time to cut out yet, and it's all time stamped out, ready to go. I've already carved through Cannonier Southpaw footage, and I'll give you that information here, folks. Don't you worry. We'll get to that in a second. But two of the other Southpaws were ladies events, so you know how I'm excited to go watch regional tape that I don't have to on the prelims. Prelim fighter, regional tape, prelim fighter, regional women's tape for some Southpaw action. So I'm very excited for that. Very excited to watch Tough. Very excited to have had to and rewatch twice because my confidence is clearly so high. And in my defense, perhaps there are matchups that maybe make other normal analysts go back and forth. I don't know. I haven't listened to them, folks. But yeah, go back to watch a Tisha Torres, Tisha Pennington get. I don't even like to use the rob word, but fuck it. If I'm going to use it, might as well use it for Tisha's fights. I get to watch her get robbed again. Controversial decision. That was fun. Speaking of the main event, we got Cannonier-Borralho, of course. Jared Cannonier plus 200, Kyle Borralho minus 250. There we go. 5 minutes in, starting the breakdown. And yeah, Cannonier's coming off of a controversial stop. controversial stoppage, scorecards, injuries, you name it, folks. You know where I'm at. You know where I was on it. Of course, it was the losing side. So yeah, I get to rewatch this. So I could have been in a good mood. I could have been in a good run. I could have been, anybody stronger than old Dan Tom, and yeah, I still would have been in it. I still would have been air quotes excited. Still would have been in kind of a shit mood this week, right? So you can imagine. I know I'm not asking for fucking sympathy here. Let's get to the fucking breakdown. So yeah, I already submitted my main event breakdown for this one, but it takes me so long to even get to the fucking Southpaw reports because it's kind of, with the way I do it now, I kind of have to have it all at one time. So, and I thought I was going to have it done early this week. Where does the fucking time go? But yeah, I'm just like, I don't even give a shit anymore. Like, even just like basic things, like, it's just like whatever, man. Like, I used to care about like having like, oh, I gotta have like all these visual examples, and I would, but it's too fucking hard to do it when you have to write up everything, like with the co-main I have to write that up twice every week, which is fine, but like again, it's not like just looking at the age and the reach and the explosiveness and the pigmentation and being like, here my play, I'm the shit, you spend the rest of the week jerking off on the timeline. Like, that's not me. I gotta like actually show my work, record videos that are deadline for one place, record articles for both places, deadline at different times, all in the same fights. So, I actually have to like talk about this shit too. So, hey Brownie, what you doing, girl? You can come hang out while I do the show. It's bad the dogs can tell you're not doing good. Like, is he all right? Like, it's not you talking about fights again. Dad's fine. But yeah, so we'll see. I think, some of, on these close fights, a lot of my trends I went against. I use that for tiebreakers. So, hint, hint, you guys could probably see where I'm going because, boy, were they, how many, soggy dick specials, shout out to Pepe Sylvia, how many soggy dick specials are they tempting your boys with? And one of those is a female fight. So, double forgive my crudeness here, folks. But how old is Mag? Let's see. Neil Magny, of course. 37. I don't know why he feels like he's older. Yeah, that's a fight I definitely want to touch on here. But yeah, we're on Cannonier versus Imafov. I still got that in my head, don't I? Cannonier versus Borralho. Borralho. But I just Borralho sounds funner to say, so more fun to say. Obviously, Cannonier's the older fighter. Borralho, 31, not crazy young, but I guess compared to Cannonier's 40. But here's the thing, and at least we can say that with the top two fights. I don't know about the aforementioned Magny. We can say it with so much. But the older fighters in the top two fights are getting better with age. They are aging like wine, Will age catch up? Of course it will, folks. That's life. That's the fight game. But at the risk of breaking down two fights at the same time, as I'm already kind of all over the place, I really do feel that way. Both of the elder statesmen, or women, if you will, at the very top of this card, are showing improvements, and I think those have to be acknowledged, I was seeing comments that, like, oh, Cannonier was looking slow, but when I went back to watch his last fight, not only did he, he looked a little slow at some parts, but it was a grueling fight as well, and I think that he was purposely making it a grueling fight because he trusted himself over Imavov, who, did show to flag, right? Later in fights, win or lose, that was a fact there, right? And John Crouch, just like, it's going to be two good game planning camps, folks, because, MMA Lab, it's been a long time, Fight Nerds may be unheralded, but like MMA Lab, John Crouch, I should say, a long time unheralded guy, right? Even though everybody should know who he is, obviously, at this point. But yeah, the guy you can tell ingrained stuff in the practice room, and then he also has, even though it's like, totally dickish and stuff, it's competitive, man. It's what you got to do, the tactics in the corner. Oh, that didn't hit nothing. He didn't hit shit. Like, you could, like, man, I'm surprised fighters that, not that they should, by the way. It's all gamesmanship, of course. Professional. At least for this sport, air quotes. But yeah, like, and I'm not hating on it, by the way. But yeah, John Crouch does a lot of that and stuff. And So he's going to have him, game planned. He probably had him game planned well for Imavov as far as, that regard. And Cannonier was sitting down more as he's really, been making more improvements as far as his boxing. I mean, Cannonier's game is ultimately still to set up the right hand, whether he's throwing it as a counter or lead hook from southpaw or setting it up off of his lead hand in orthodox. A lot of his game is setting up that right hand for as diverse as Cannonier is, for as well as he can fight from both stances in open space, can counter, can come forward, although he doesn't really do the latter as much as perhaps he stereotyped or perhaps you would think or perhaps you would maybe want him to do, right? Cannonier is a very free-flowing fighter. He's had some menacing performances, and then the way that, athletes of his of how he looks are definitely characterized, I'm sure helps that characterization as well. But if you actually stop and watch the footage, he is, and not that he's not ferocious, not that he's not powerful, not that he's not those things, but it's not like he's like some marauder that just comes forward and only comes forward, right? Like, he's got his own methods to his madness, and for better or a lot of times worse, you could argue, will kind of be out in space. But he is getting better, albeit, the dynamic still largely stays the same with Cannonier trying to set up that right hand. Which will be there. Borralho fights a lot out of southpaw. By the way, Cannonier 4-2 against UFC level southpaws. So positive record there. Obviously, Borralho undefeated in the octagon because he's undefeated in the apex because he's undefeated in the octagon. Cannonier, for what it's worth, undefeated in the apex, 3-0. And which makes sense because that would favor his style as well. It forces the action. It forces the best out of Cannonier. For what that's worth. But I would still argue, despite those stats, that Borralho and southpaws provide some problems for Cannonier because outside of straight shots of guys like world champions and that were able to drop him, even though I believe it was a kick that dropped him with Robert Whittaker and Jan Blachowicz, a division up. Outside of that, all their knockdowns and stoppage, all his knockdowns and stoppage losses come from southpaws, Cannonier. You got Sean Jordan early in the heavyweight, Dominic Reyes at light heavyweight. Cannonier, in his defense, again, has not been stopped at middleweight, has looked very durable, and even when he has been hurt, like with the Marvin Vettori fight, has shown that he can come back, finish the fight strong, and set record numbers. And I know he wasn't 40 when that fight happened, but he was 39. You know what I'm saying? So when people were saying that he was slowing down, I'm like, maybe, but then I remember people were saying he was slowing down right after the Vettori fight, heading into the Imavov fight, which was really annoying. And again, of course it was annoying because it was the perfect trap for old Dan Tom, right? For me to go, ooh, you motherfuckers all got it wrong, but Dan Tom's got it right. Take the drag of the cigarette. You guys have counted me out for so long, but this is where I got you. I got the information. That's right. It's gonna happen like this, and we're gonna live bet Cannonier. I'm not gonna fall into the trap, even though I got the information. Following the process, gonna play it smart. Got the value on my side. Checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. Cannonier up on the cards. People were fucking, for whatever reason, they cashed Duplessis, and I hate, again, this is bad winner shit in my book. I'm sorry, folks. But people are going, oh, people are in shambles for the fucking Duplessis scorecard. It's like, you guys won your bets. Just take your fucking money and be happy, all right? For crying out fucking loud. Again, take a bad loser over day any day than a bad winner. So that's why I tweeted, people, for as many people complaining about the scorecards that were out of Sanya fans. And I agree with them. Not that it mattered, obviously, but I was just like, why are we doing that? But yeah, for what it's worth, yeah, Cannonier was up on the scorecards, folks, and that was one of 3 times I've ever officially live betted, and of course, yeah, you guessed it, folks, sit down. 0 for 3 in those. That was one of them. That was actually a good one because, again, we got a better price than what Cannonier was at close, I believe. Or maybe not a better price, but it was, it wasn't even a great price, but it was within the range that I would buy at, and that's what you were kind of saving because, page note this for this fight, the analysis was, even though people are wrong and doing the thing like they're doing with Pantoja where they're like, oh, he gets tired late in the fights. I'm like, listen, you could not like Pantoja. You can even be contrarian and score his fights against him. But even on that contrarian take, the rounds that were inarguable from Moreno, Royval to Ursig were round 5. All those guys younger than Pantoja. All those guys known for their cardio. All those guys, particularly Royval, output machines who don't get tired. But the tired Pantoja, he won the 5th round unquestionably, even to the contrarian scorecards on all those fights. Correct? So, yeah, that was, but so again, it's just a lot of that ageism shit, right? That narrative, narrative nation. Shout out to Dogger Pass Podcast. Good dudes over there. I believe that's where that term comes from. But yeah, there's a lot of narrative nation shit right amongst the MMA betting community, right? So I was like, oh, I got to quiet out that noise. That being said, Cannonier still been getting hurt, a decent amount as of late, right? Because, we say what you will, and my guy Fenyo brought this up on the early prelims podcast, and I totally agree with this point, and point to it as well, is that say what you will about the stoppage, which was controversial. I don't think there's a question of that. But, and I say that knowing that I'm biased, but also don't forget, folks, I kept that same energy, and I was actually one of the few voices of rationale defending Jason Herzog in the sense that even though I don't agree with the stoppage, and still don't, whenever you turn your back, it's a bad sign, right? Even though, like I brought up the Izzy and Dricus scorecards that I believe that, you could be the contrarian scorecards like my guy Fenyo and had all the rounds for Izzy. I was more, I gave round 2 to Dricus, but I was more upset with the slop kind of winning out in round 1. It was the clearer body work from Izzy, right? But rounding back to that point, sorry, what was I getting to there? Shit. Don't get hit in the head, folks. Don't get hit in the head. But what was it the Cannonier live line? Izzy Dricus, those rounds there. And then Cannonier, which rounds? Evolve. Shit, I'm sorry, I lost the thread on that, folks. Making myself look even worse here. But yeah, basically, I think that was a lot of narrative nation, and you look at it, the back to it, but he did get hurt, right? Even though it's controversial stoppage, he did get hurt. The turning your back, right? Even though I was getting that, here's where it is, folks. Okay. Even though I was getting mad that, at the thing in round 1, and even though Izzy wasn't turning his back in round 1, you saw him toward the end of the fight start bringing out that really bad Alistair Overeem late prime body language where he starts circling and kind of just abandoning his footwork as the superior striker. You're like, what's going on here? So even though and I'm not alone, right, thought Izzy was up, and even that Izzy was winning winning round 4 until he wasn't, right, until it started clearly turning for him, and then he was over. You got to give credit where credit's due to where, okay, I'm Mr. It was, that was slop, that was this. Well, it apparently wasn't too much of slop, was it, Dan? Because, whether Izzy was hurt or he was more mentally kind of crumbling, either way, that's effective striking, right? That was effective. So I got to keep that same energy. And looking at the stoppage, even though I disagree with it, right? Cannonier was still showing bad body language, which is why, again, even though in the heat of it, I was actually, despite Dan Tom, woe is me, always on the wrong end of this shit continually, I actually kept the same energy and said, hey, it's always bad body language for good reason, right? When you turn your back. And, we could continue to argue semantics of that, but one of the facts coming out we can all agree on from either side is that, Cannonier was hurt. And that fight was only, June 8th. Just over 2 months ago, folks. And now you want to talk about age? Yeah, now is the right time to talk about age. And he's 40, and, these things. And you can look, he's been getting hurt more. He was hurt in the Vettori fight. So I actually scored the Strickland fight for him. And there were parts where it was it looked like, it definitely got his attention. But it's, I don't know how hurt he was. He wasn't stumbling all over the place or anything, obviously. And then I always try to take, no offense to the commentators, right? I always try to take it with a grain of salt. Oh, he's hurt, right? And again, because even though as much times as they can be wrong, they know better than us, right? Dom was like, Izzy's hurt in round 4 or round 3 or something like that, right? And I'm like, shut up, Dom. I remember saying that to the screen, right? And sure enough, Izzy starts losing the fight like shortly after that. I'm like, oh shit, Dom was right. I should shut up, right? Like, so, like, you know, it's we got to keep the same energy / keep those things in mind. And the Izzy fight was weird, right? The Brunson fight he actually got knocked down on. That's going to be in the Southpaw report too. Again, Southpaw counters, right? Even in fights that he's won, he's gotten knocked down and rocked on counters. And the fight before that, Gastelum him. So, you know, 4 out of his last 6 fights for sure, possibly even 5 out of his last 6, depending on how stunned he might have gotten from Strickland quietly, which I'm not going to weigh in. So I'll just say I'll undershoot my thing, right? My equation here. Most people, you know, like to round up. Let's round down, right? To be fair. So we'll go 4 out of 6, you know, hurting his last 4 out of 6, right? Actually, well, we can even go before that, because before Gastelum was Whitaker. And he was hurt in that fight too, right? So, you know, and then before that's Hermanson, where he, you know, Jack, you know, imploded on that fight. And not that Jack's a big striker anyways, or a southpaw, so hard to get too much relevance from that going all the way half a decade at that point, 1 month short in September of 2019. And of course, the weird Anderson Silva fight, which is not going to make the southpaw sample because it was just a really weird fight. You know, and then Dave Branch's middleweight debut before that. So, you know, if we just look at the recent trends, he has been getting hurt. And as in my report for Cannonier, anyone who can throw straight shots or counters can do it. Now, Borralho can do those, but I don't think he does that many, right? So I go through and run the comb on Borralho. And Borralho's not jabbing as much as I remembered, because he actually doesn't really start jabbing until his last 2 or 3 fights. His last 2 in particular, he actually has a decent jab. He's always has a decent feinting presence, even though he's low output, even though he's pretty reserved. And, you know, it took me a minute to come around on Borralho. I picked most of his fights right. But, like, if you look at, like, the way because he fought on Contender Series twice, and I wasn't that high on him the first time, and even the second time when we got signed, I'm like, okay, let's see. So I think I've been very fair, to say the least. I don't think I have too much under or too much overvalued, because I'm pretty sure I'm picking his fights right. If anything, you know, for being underwhelmed, you could say I was overvaluing him in the predictions, because whether I played them or not, I did like, oh, I think he gets the sub, or I think he gets a round 3. And there were some really frustrating fights there where it's like, is he fighting to his level? What's going on? Like with the Abbas Magomedov fight, I thought that would be more live, especially coming off the Mikhail Oleksiejczuk fight, which is still one of his, you know, more impressive ones on paper and one of the only hitters that are really on his record, right? But in his defense, you know, I know Paul Craig's not, speaking of defense, doesn't have much, and I love me some Paul Craig. But that fight, or the Abbas Magomedov fight, again, tall fighters who are going to be taller than Borralho. Borralho is one of the weird fighters. Speaking of undershooting, everyone does the Jorginho Rosenstruck, right? They add a couple of inches. Like Borralho, like, is one of the few guys that looks like he's taller than what he's listed. He looks like a 6'3", at least a 6'2", easy. And he's listed at like 6'1". I think he was listed at 6 foot initially when he came on Contender Series. Weird. But yeah, he does throw those straight shots. He does have southpaw counters, because he self-admittedly wanted to just impersonate Conor McGregor and made himself a southpaw. He's a right-handed southpaw, kind of like myself. But yeah, like, but he does the basic stuff with the left, but it's his right hand that's sneaky, and especially with both these guys have a come forward right hook, and I could see them both having a hooking exchange. And I'm going to be siding with Borralho because even though he's less proven, he does look like he does look like he has a little huge chin, right? And I know he hasn't faced hitters, but he has been hit with some counters, which are relevant in a second here. And it looks like he's taking them well. He just looks like a guy who has a good chin. Like, I think if Cannonier hits, I don't believe in I think Cannonier's powerful. I'm not going to oversell it, but at the same time, I'm not going to be super contrarian, right? For once in my life, I know. And be like, oh, Cannonier's not as powerful. I think it's because the explosive thing, people think he got knocked. Like, I'm not going to fully go lean in that direction either, folks. Like, he's definitely powerful. And if he rocks Borralho, none of us should be surprised. But because I'm picking Borralho, I guess, spoiler alert. I honestly would not be surprised if Borralho is able to take those shots. But yeah, both guys have a nice lead hook, and both guys can use it as a sneaky counter. Cannonier is a little more sneakier with using it as a counter. But Borralho, the fact that he uses it with in conjunction with his feints and his level changes, which lack setup, but he's athletic enough to. I wouldn't be surprised if he got Cannonier down with him, but I think it's going to be more well-timed reactive than his wide in the open. But the good news about doing that is it gets it on the radar. It's a clear threat because he's already coming into all his fights with the on-paper jiu-jitsu and judo accolades that is Borralho. And it plays into the kind of feints that he sells because when he's striking, he's doing level changing. I'm going to come up, and then he comes up with a quick lead right hook. And so it builds into each other in that aspect, and I think that's going to be really effective. I think that's really going to get... hey, my guy Fenyo's in the house, speaking of. Cannonier getting chinny enough to get nerded. I think he's going to get nerded. Oh, that's a good saying, nerded, yeah. He's going to get... I think he is, man. I think he is. Crystals versus nerds, man. Crystal Cannonier. Cannonier. But yeah, I think... oh, by the way, I wrote I won't forget which fight it was, but like it was hilarious. It was definitely versus a white guy too, which made it even worse. Fitzgerald goes... they're talking about like Cannonier had more effect. And I think it was like with a bus, and he was like, I think Cannonier it seems to be the guy with more lead in his pencil, And I always love it because it was like the awkward silence you get after a woman's low blow happens, where all the commentators, the male commentators, don't know what the fuck to say, like baby vagina, they just don't know what to say, right? Like, and it was like one of those things, like, I don't want to touch that one. Although shout out, this was around the time where Fitzy was getting loose, where people like me or the MMA Analysis podcast have to always hold some respect for some Brendan Fitzgerald, because he is the one that finally brought Thick Willie to the air. Of course, it was his last fight. What a better time to do it. And if I pissed off Thick Willie, because he does not like that name, William Knight, and as if I was Brendan, I would have set it up the way that I always set it up, which is, again, you don't have to disrespect him by stating a fact and still give credit to the Nightmare nickname, but you have to say affectionately referred to on the internet as. Right? That's how you have to set it up, folks, right? That's the tactful way to set these things up. Affectionately referred to in the internet as Thick Willie. But it was hilarious. I think Sanko was on the booth too, so everybody was just all like, not gonna touch that one. Sorry, folks. Researching these cards, little shit like that is like literally like some of the sad few highlights I get to try to inject comedy in these godforsaken shows. I'll get to the rest of you guys in the chat here. I see you guys. But I want to at least give you, get my long-winded ass through this one, and hopefully the rest won't be as. But yeah, I see those counters have an effect. The jabs, again, say what you will about the fighting nerds, they definitely seem to be doing their homework on the fighters and whatnot. And if they do, I got to imagine they're going to see the shots that southpaws tend to hit Cannonier with. And I also think that even though we haven't really seen Cannonier, I don't know how many kickers, per se, but that Whitaker head kick, you see Borralho do the southpaw version. He busted that out a couple fights ago too. And I'm curious if he's going to do the same side cross head kick. So whether it's that same side cross head kick or a right hook, I see one of those two things clipping Cannonier and hurting him. And even though Borralho can take him down, I think even it's going to be hard, but I think he can. Even though we shouldn't be surprised if he can't, but I do think he can, if that makes sense, right? Both in the clinch and in the open. Again, probably going to be easier in the open off a reactive countering shot, but I do think he can take him down. I do think he can submit him, because Cannonier tends to turtle, even though he comes from the ground John Crouch school, who actually has good get-up tactics with the cross wrist control. Get up, use your back to cheese grate off the fence, rinse, wash, repeat. Still involves back exposure, right? As much as I love Brian Barbs and these guys, they still, found themselves with the monkeys on their back because of that, right? However, I think those chances, like everything, right? Like your black belt goes down to a brown belt when you get punched a bunch, right? I think those chances multiply if Cannonier is rocked by said shots. So I'm smelling a club and sub by round 2 for Kyle-Borralho, but I don't agree with the price. And I'm not surprised to see him favored. I'm not even disagreeing that Kyle would be favored, even though he's the less proven product here. But I disagree with the price. So what I'm going to do is what's Borralho inside the distance? I'm going to put sub in the round robin, and if it's tough because it's like borderline for what we like to limit for prop squad, because I wanted to put that for my prop squad. I may just do that too. It's 325 bet reverse. Fuck. I might see if I can. It's kind of lame. I hate doing that. I think we try to go plus 330 now for prop squad, but I don't know what the fuck else we'll see. I saw sadly I fucking research this shit fuck fights. So maybe I'll find something there to throw a dart on. But Borralho inside the distance. Yeah, maybe I'll just like throw a unit on there plus 175 or something if we can find it in that neighborhood. And then look to live bet Cannonier still, because if again, it's still the same analysis, but I page noted that Imavov fight. It's a different fight stylistically with the southpaw and the grappling. So it's a much different fight, but as far as the dynamic, as far as the betting and risk perspective dynamic, I think that remains the same for the risk perspective dynamic of the Cannonier side, right? It's early is generally when he's going to get clipped. Now, I believe he actually gets clipped late with that Gastelum fight. Not late, but like round 3 in the middle of the fight, I should say. But I say late because all of his stoppage and knockdowns pretty much all come in round 1 otherwise. And if this fight goes later, it's not that Borralho has shown to tire, but he is unproven in the later rounds, and he has shown to relinquish to his back and really not be good there, which I also wonder if Cannonier is going to be cheeky and get offensive with takedowns of his own, because Borralho, like we saw in the Mahmoud baby, in the Mahmoud Murdoch fight, Kyle was really, okay with being on his back, and that's bad news against a guy like Cannonier, who I imagine Cannonier would probably bring out the best in him because he's got really good ground and pound, and it's either sit there and be destroyed or get up. But the fact was, I believe, even though Borralho's barely been on his back, I think he's needed referee get-ups every time, and he's waited for him, which is very red flag. Very red flag if we don't see Kyle Borralho address that. It's going to cost him soon. It could cost him in this fight. So unless they put an offer I can't refuse, / I really see Kyle just coming out and looking way shittier than I expected, maybe after round 1. But maybe like you look, if you ever at your house, which again, mine don't, I have to wait for in between rounds, and it's such a narrow window, which is parcel of the reason why I barely have, any live bets. I'm like 0-3, folks. But you look to live bet Cannonier mid-round, round 2, or even if it looks like he's down 2-0, but the second round was kind of close, right? The second round was kind of close, or it wasn't close, but like Borralho put a lot of energy to finish. He's been grappling heavy for 10 minutes now, and you're getting a good price on Cannonier. At that point, you're probably going to even get a better price if the fight's not going, and then you take a flyer there for either Kyle to implode in late rounds or Cannonier to pull away down the stretch, which I do believe he has. Again, despite he's tired. Oh, he got stuck. Come on. Again, the analysis ain't popular, but for what it's worth, it's on that side of it. And to try to go against, like what I was saying with Fenyo, like I got to bet. I'm not allowed to bet on old fight. I mean, again, this live bet's kind of in place, granted. But like as far as pre-flop, I'm not touching Cannonier, right? But right, I'm not allowed to bet on old fighters anymore. I'm not allowed to bet on, even though Cannonier is athletic, so is Borralho. So I guess I'm safe there. It's always hard to say who's more racist, right? Which is an unfair question because there's so many in MMA. But like, neither of these guys I don't believe have. Wait, did Jared say something anti-Semitic? Wait, wasn't Jared Jewish at one point? There's been a couple of religions. I don't know. But I don't know if any of these guys have been, like, super openly anti-immigrant. Because, like, everyone's, like, talking about aura. Like, +4 aura. Like, dude, like, being anti-immigrant is, like, got to be +4, like, 500 aura in this sport, I feel like. But, yeah, so I don't know about that, folks. I'm just going back. I'm going with the important checklist now, you know. And forget, you know, how they actually fight and what's proven. I mean, that's all. That's for the fucking birds when we're talking about betting, folks. I'm talking about the important stuff, right? Like pigmentation, race stuff, right? Yeah. Age, reach. Oh, we got the taller guy. I believe we got the... I don't even know if he's got a longer reach. I can't remember how longer reach. But yeah, I'm going to go with Borralho here. I'm not putting him any parlays. I'm not playing the chalk. Probably just going to put him in a round robin and play him inside the distance. And we'll see if I try to pass him off as my prop squad, as my pathetic prop squad, if that's even available at this point. Because I waited too long, like normal with everything. All right, I talked long on this one, so I'll get with you guys here on the chat. There's more than I deserve. Ghost Phantom in the house. Hey, good news for you, Dan. You can paste your Amazon click-through link at the end of Substack articles. I can? I'll check on that. I don't know. I still haven't even figured out how to get SureDog working. Why it errors. You know, I said I was going to fix that on my week off. Like, yeah. Again, folks, on my week off, I went to the car place and then had to go back again this week. And I was supposed to go to the dog place and I didn't have time. And now I'm having to go for another dog. Yeah, I don't know when I'll get to anything. But that's good to know, Ghost. No, that's genuinely good to know. Jimmy Kudo, my number one. Jimmy, you're my number one guy. It's Jack Nicholson, Batman there. James Kendrick, hey, yo, Real Susan Truesdale, let's fucking go. Jink Karasu drinking hot cocoa. I didn't mean to rhyme all that while listening, he says. That was awesome. Sammy Arnett. What's up, Sammy Arnett? I haven't seen you in a minute. Another middleweight main event at the Apex. I know. I'm so excited. He says that Dana is shoving down our throats. Absolutely. The UFC has called it in. Yeah, it's fucking atrocious, man. This card format is fucking atrocious, and I'll definitely have my thoughts as usual over on Substack on the alternative card format. I'll get the fluid thoughts up tonight, folks. Don't worry. As well as the Southpaw report up within the next 24 hours. Everything gets crammed to the late of the week. We'll see if I make my fucking yoga class tomorrow because I didn't make it last week. I got to the parking lot and I was a couple minutes late, which sucks because I'm like, then I just hate my life and like I get mad at like, oh, I took time to message a friend back, and if I didn't message that friend back, you would have been on time for yoga class. And now I'm beating myself up for, God forbid, trying to hold on to what little social life I have left. Very healthy way to live, folks. Finally I bought myself tickets to my 1.5 average. I average 1.5 trips to the movie theater a year, and I'm going to go to see Alien Romulus this weekend, right? And I'm like, watch. I'm going to probably like feel bad because now if I go do that, I'll be late for some shit next week. And this is the way my brain works. And I'll be like, oh, fuck, Dan, if you didn't fucking go treat yourself to fucking go see a movie, you wouldn't have fucked this up, but you let the fucking that up. Now your whole week's fucked up. It's very healthy, I know. It's super fucking healthy. But yeah, I'm going to go see it. James Kendrick, Tisha Rob vs. Dern and Rob vs. Ricci. Dern one was more egregious since the fights was inflatable, wacky hands, and the judges love. Absolutely. Less egregious the other one. We'll talk about that here in a second. No chill MMA. Why are we acting like Cannonier vs. Kyle isn't a banger? I mean, it could be. Yeah, it definitely deserves the main event role. I'm not going to hate on it there. It's just, I mean, again, man, when the UFC, back to the previous comment, just keeps shoving middleweights down our throat, that even though this fight actually is meaningful and makes sense, I will definitely sign off on that. Even though those things are true, absolutely. It's like, fuck, man, more middleweights in the Apex. Like, you look at the fucking card they put under it, like, you're just like, what the... All right. James Kendrick, Herzog had a bad year this year. He's a good ref, but he blew the Zhang versus Yan fight. Yeah, I thought that was a bad look as well, where he should have stopped it on two different occasions. I agree with you, James Kendrick. We got to call it how it is. And Jason Herzog's still my favorite ref, but yeah, it's definitely two highlights for sure I can't disagree with. Real Susan Truesdale, Pool Krieg, Lazy Bed. What's up, dude? Hey, yo, what's up, gang? What's up, Lazy Bed? Ghost Phantom, I got to give you credit, Dan. It's hard to get up and take close looks at these fights for this card because it's not great. Thank you. I feel less crazy there. I'm not trying to ruin your guys' enjoyment. Please, I want you guys to enjoy the fights. I feel bad that I'm a curmudgeon. Like, I'm not even disagreeing with anybody who I don't even know if that person said I am coming off that way, but I wouldn't disagree with them if they did, man. Very, very fair. Very fair. Dan Mac, yeah, boy, I finally got on when the Lord of the FJs is on. I appreciate the car stuff with you, my guy, Dan Mac. And yeah, my FJ, it's my pride and glory. I gotta get out and enjoy that thing more too. And enjoy these things while I have these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, life is short, folks. Matt Pauly, Thursday night, protect your neck. What's up, Matt Pauly? I always love seeing that. What are you doing, Dan Mac? I already love you enough, and you got to hit the super chat. Keep going, homie. Dan says, keep doing what you do, homie. I can't wait to listen to the full podcast episode. MVP Dan Tom, sprinkle that .33 Scottie Pippen. Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I've got a Scottie Pippen to sprinkle here. That's about what I would do for the sub prop. Especially if it's going to be my prop squad, because, I got to put my money where my mouth is, even though technically I am with the round robin, but I might just go inside the distance to kick for some coverage there, because, again, not much I like on that fight. I appreciate you, Dan Mag. Way too kind, sir, man. Way too kind. Lazy Bed, real question here. Which is better fight accessory, spiritually charged crystals or nerd glasses? Seems these guys could be great friends outside the cage. Yeah, probably, man. And, I don't have the hate for the crystals, man. I got respect for the crystal game. But as a dude with some nerd glasses on, you guys know who's part Portuguese, I feel like I'm a bit biased there, so I guess I'll lean that way. But no hate on the crystals. Chronic Combat Conversations. Let's fucking go, Dan. I'm trying to go, guys. I'm trying. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm pretty sure you guys are coming off a winning week. You guys deserve it. That's for damn sure. Shout outs to Tyler and Greg. Goes Phantom. Shout out to the Chronic Conversation boys for having Sound and Pound host Alex Behunin. That was a Pound Town host. I was like, oh, go Alex. No, just kidding. Shout out to my guy Alex Behunin. All right, next fight. Let's go. Tabitha Ricci, minus 125. Angela Hill, plus 105. Depending on what you're looking at, it could be minus 110. Pick 'em. Which is like where the fight's heading. It's going to be practically pick 'em range, where we probably won't get too great. We'll get plus money on either side. But you get a discount on the Ricci side. So I've been going back and forth on this one. And probably for good reason, because the public is going back and forth for whatever that's worth, even though I don't trust the public, and I usually fade the public. But I get it. You see plus money on the veteran, the more proven fighter, against a fighter who gets a lot of hype. And again, I don't think she won her last fight. Back to the Tabitha Ricci with the Tisha Pennington. And you know that I had the plus money on Pennington. You know I had the Pennington decision in the round robin. Oh boy, did those fucking hurt. That was fun. Oh boy, was that fun. Yeah, I had a Ohio in a round robin too, a round 3 on one of those frustrating fights I cited earlier. Oh, I love reliving this stuff, folks, because doing it once isn't enough. Pays to be a tape watcher, doesn't it? Doesn't it pay to be a tape watcher, Dan? Oh, it's so great. It's so amazing what you do with your time. Yeah, I went back and watched some of these fights multiple times too, because I just was having a tough beat. So Tabitha Ricci, she comes in as a southpaw, even though she lists herself orthodox. I'm like, what the fuck, right? And it's because she's like got that old school wrestler adage where she prefers shooting and doing her takedowns with her right foot forward, whether it's like judo style clinch. She will reap with the left foot, but she really likes that inside. She'll even do that combo double with the inside trip. And then when she just shoots, kind of like a lot of judokas, they actually like will take on like double legs and do like actual like MMA wrestling style takedowns. They all tend to embrace those. Even like Rousey had some. We all think of course, of the the Uchimatas, the hip tosses, and all that shit, right? The head and arm tosses, all that shit, especially in WMMA, right? But she has other stuff as well. Ricci, who came from a judo background, really got into jiu-jitsu. She's got black belts in both. She's got the black belt in the Muay Thai, which I'm trying to give credit for, as somebody who's probably going to try to earn rank in that too, if I can get my fucking life together and actually have some consistent workout schedule. Because they got the bang Muay Thai system and whatnot. We'll see. But so I try to give credit to those. I think it's funny though, because some of them like lay out their things with like a purple belt with a purple something with a black tip, or with a black with a purple tip, and I'm like, it sounds like something you should go to the doctor to get checked out for, with the way they describe some of these Muay Thai ranks. And Ricci's got one of those, so my immature side giggles, of course, as I just did. But she would throw a little more kicks, and like Cannonier, a lot of it is setting up the right hand regardless of what stance she's operating from, and would do her best work from southpaw. And you could tell she was comfortable there, right? And I don't know if it's coincidentally when she hooks up with that boxer dude, the King Callum dude, who I don't even know if he's any good. Am I supposed to know who this fucking person is? Or is this like a Dana White pet project where they just shove it down your throat and you just one of those random things like slap he just randomly gets into? But in Ricci's defense, this is a credit to her. I have not seen him in her corner, which is good. She seems to have a bunch of other coaches at the broadcast have shout out for her striking. So perhaps this isn't his doing. But I bring that up because they've been dating the last 3 camps or so, right? And in the last 3 camps or so, you see Ricci doing what other podcasts might accuse of being capital T technical. She's fighting more from orthodox, fighting more off of her lead hand, but she looks uncomfortable as shit. And when she's really getting bombed on, you can see her fighting the urge to wanting to go back to southpaw. I know this because I went through these growing pains too when I finally buckled down and wanted to learn to box right. And I wanted to learn how to fight from orthodox. I had to go through these pains where I just wanted to go back to my safety, my southpaw, my in and out karate. Not that that was Ricci style, but you get what I'm saying. I could see that internal struggle. And, when you go back in fights that I still thought that she clearly lost, not talking about her last fight that she won, but even the split, because, again, back to the most criminally offensive, tinfoil hat bullshit theory I've ever proposed on here, but I sadly stand by it, which we'll get to, but, judges looking at the fights or they're looking at the booty, right? Right. That is a real thing, folks. Go rewind the tape. I could actually see officials, see my guy Herb Dean look at the checking station doing, oh God, Lord have mercy. His eyes rolled back because he knew he could not look in that general vicinity of what Ricci was working with. All right, easy, Dan. Stay on target. Don't you fall victim too. It's tough. But yeah, she gets that split with Godinez in the fight that she should have lost. She did lose, but she should have lost. I don't even think it should have been a split. I know she has big moments at the end, which she does that shit. Like, she even does like a headbutt to Tisha at the end, which the ref didn't call, and he saw because afterwards he's like, because you see Tisha go fucking push her off like that. And the ref's like, hey, you gotta watch the clash. It's like, God, you guys don't fucking call shit, do you? Jesus Christ, man. And she was clearly frustrated, right? Like, again, because back to, you could see her intentions wearing it on her sleeve. But in the Godinez fight, when she actually does have her good moments, coincidence, she was in southpaw, right? Now, to her credit, back to her previous comment, even though I still think it was a bad decision, even though I hate the word close but clear, you could actually use that for both the round 2 swing round in question for Torres Pennington versus Ricci, or the fight itself. They actually both apply, but obviously competitive but clear is the correct answer that fits. But yeah, it was to her credit though, because it was competitive. It was competitive because Ricci does do a better job. She is getting a better handle on said striking. I didn't like it because she went back to moving lateral. Say what you will about it being a little more free-formy, her more southpaw-y, switchy striking from before. She was more effective, and she moved laterally. She was better about moving laterally, where again, she's getting put into a stance and a side that she's not necessarily familiar with. And I did these drills too, where I had to drill, slipping, throwing, going in a square, and then going back around both stances just to get used to the moving all directions in both stances. And you could tell she was totally in that phase. And she's getting a little better. She's incorporating and starting to figure out how to attach some of her darts and lateral movement, right? And I actually did give her round 3. I think I was just, riding the wave of emotion on top of the bias that already exists, and I already admit to, and I'm already better admitting to than most folks. I get it. Anyone that wants to bring that up. But yeah, I was, even though I still feel like 30-27 is Torres Pennington is more acceptable scorecard than a 29-28 Ricci. I did give Ricci that third round, and she was able to stay up with the numbers. And even though she is somebody that looks to tire, that I think is much more apt for that stereotype criticism than Cannonier or Pantoja. But again, Ricci's got an ass, and I'm sorry, it's true, and she's a young fighter, so MMA bettors are going to fucking see right past any flaws, right? And they're going to be like, oh, a person, toxic, stay away, oh, doggy thing. Right? That's just how it goes, right? But yeah, so like, but yeah, she's actually like flagged before in fights. So this was a 5-round fight. Even though Hill, you could argue, you know, for as much as she's improving, like I said, these 40-year-old fighters are improving. The Cannoniers, the Hills. That is one area you are going to see fighters slow down first. So it would make sense, again, for people criticizing, albeit overly, Cannonier slowing down, right? Or anybody criticizing Angie slowing down, right? In those later rounds, right? I gotta rewatch. That is one of the fights I did not rewatch on this one, or at least the rounds 4 and 5, because again they're not going around 4 and 5, and from my memory she was getting pretty smashed up on anyways. But I still probably would have. I would like to think that I maybe would side with Hill, but it felt coin flippy. I want to go with Hill here because I don't think that, even though I think Ricci's takedowns will be good enough to, even though they don't score, again, you don't have to score when the judges are kind of focused on when they're grading the badonk more than the actual donks. You know what I'm saying? But jokes, half jokes, I should say, aside, I think she can take it down, and that will break up enough of Hill's striking / give Ricci the break she needs. I don't think she's going to submit her. I agree with the overs being chalked because, Hill was able to survive Dern. Say what you will about cardio or damage or whatever. She was still game, both with the physical damage and the submission defense. It was kind of troublesome to see Denise Gomez, of all people, who doesn't, I believe, even have a single submission on her record, right? Get her in an armbar spot that was not the same spot, but a similar opening where you're mid-scramble and you're turning to your side, which I like because single leg get-ups are a safe get-up against Ricci, not just because on paper, not only does she not have any front chokes or guillotines, it's all arm bars. So again, like if Hill does give her back, like does Ricci really go for the back? If she gets the back, if she overperforms there, I see her at best, unless Hill's hurt or something like that, obviously. Like maybe not even backpacking the whole round, but backpacking enough to get around. But we haven't really seen Ricci backpack. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am trying to think of like, what would normally happen with the fighter that I end up siding with. Which, spoiler, I didn't side with, but I'm thinking what I normally would side with because, full disclosure, I probably would pick Hill here more times than not, folks. But with my confidence being so incredibly high, I know, I'm second guessing myself. I know, shocking. I'm second guessing myself, not just second guessing myself, but second guessing myself backing the more veteran proven fighter. Oh my God, Dan. What could go wrong? So, trying to learn from these lessons and watch. This is going to be the one where like Cannonier comes through and Angela Hill comes through and people are going to be like, I can't believe you gave me plus money on Cannonier and Hill, and making everybody like me feel fucking stupid. Oh, of course. I can see it now, folks. I can see it now. All the people that are like fucking old are going to be like, oh my God, like are going to be, on the other side as they should be, because that's where the value is, by the way, even though I'm officially picking the younger favorite hype products in the top 2 fights. I'm not disagreeing. The value is on the other sides here. Maybe not as much with Hill as money continues to pour on her, but you know what I mean, at least from the openers and the face value here. But yeah, that was kind of troublesome with the Denise Gomez, but Pinheiro, who is also not as good on paper or off, but similar stereotype as far as a judoka, accoladed judoka. I don't believe she was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but all pretty much like 90% arm bars on her record. Pinheiro, right? Another Brazilian girl. Again, if we want to check off these stereotype boxes, and that scary moment, obviously, not that it should, because Angela Hill's style is going to bring her into danger, which is kind of the problem here too, as well, right? But it didn't dissuade her going into that fight, and she was able to actually school and then submit Pinheiro. And it was interesting because she was using that guillotine threat a lot successfully. And one thing I noticed when Ricci went against taller fighters, and I always forget, I don't know why Hill seems taller than she is. I always feel like Hill's a tall fighter for the division. She's like 5'2" or 5'3" or some shit. I don't know what that is. Like, she just looks like she's built tall. Does anybody else make that mistake, or is it just me? But so when I went to watch like Ricci against taller fighters like Viana or Penne, they were both finding, and I know that's not crazy for them. They will look for those things or pull a guard even like a Penne, right? Like these aren't the craziest things, granted. But they were finding that those guillotine and front headlock spots. Now, do I think Angela Hill's going to submit Ricci? No. But I do wonder if that's enough to get her off of whether it's her shots in the open or her attempts in the clinch. As even last-ditch efforts if she, misses an underhook or a fundamental takedown defense reaction, right? She goes for the non-traditional submissive defensive reaction. However, Ricci is really good at countering kicks like second nature, and she's already has the flexible options of reactive shots, offensive shots in the open, doubles, judo-style takedowns in the clinch, to trips, to level changes against the clinch. She's actually fairly flexible there. And more importantly, her most effective takedowns are countering kicks and countering strikes. And that is where Hill, even though she's got the second or third best defensive record, that percentage-wise by the stats, that anybody's Ricci's faced in the octagon thus far, even though she hasn't faced as many people as Hill. You get what I'm saying? I'm just trying to provide some context that Hill at 77% or whatever it is, even though you seldom hear me cite those things. I don't really care too much about those things. I do find that interesting, though, because I think that's, I don't know about you guys, maybe I'm alone here again, but I wouldn't have expected Hills to be that high, right? And when she does get taken down, she's very hard to hold down. And that was the thing. It was like, one of the more accoladed girls, not just a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but actually being good off their back, right? Like we said with Bohio's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a judo. He's got the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu judo thing going on, right? But he doesn't look like he's good off his back. Granted, he's a middleweight male, right? As opposed to, a lighter weight and lighter weight female, which the female part being where the arm bars actually still exist on and are alive and well, to Ricci's defense. But it's weird because she seems kind of limited there, but then she goes to the ground, and is more aggressive with Penne. But then the fight after that against a girl who, I get is definitely submission, even though mainly Jillian Robertson's more dangerous from top, even though she's very confident from the bottom as well. Ricci was treating her like hot lava and doing the standing up in the guard shit that she loves to do, which is like, it just doesn't, and she, again, like, forget like backpacking, like, when does she really show control? You know what I'm saying? Like, even though she was more aggressive to pursue with Penne, and that was kind of head scratching that she turns around as not as aggressive, it wasn't like she was like controlling Penne super hard that fight either. Like, she did a kind of a walk around. She, the Maria Oliveira, she eventually gets to, and that forces her into it. But that's, again, now we're going way back to where she's like fighting. Same coaches, granted, the Paragon gym she fights out of, but like it's a completely different style, right? It's that, to where she's at right now. So let's rewind, so to speak, as far as like going back to relevancy. And yeah, their most relevant fight against a really high output fighter who I'd argue is more high output than Angela Hill, and I believe does have better takedown defense percentage wise, but for what it's worth, my eye test as well, which is Torres Pennington, I should say, or Tisha Pennington, I should say. But what was I gonna say? Fuck. Pennington not as reliant on the kicks, whereas Hill with the knees and kicks, even though those serve her well here, I see those getting her countered. The small cage is going to encourage Ricci to grapple, even if she's kind of doing the capital T technical boxing style. And if she is doing that boxing style, she will still be the more emphatic shot person, even though it's less power than a Dern, it's still eye-catching. It's still in the same neighborhood. And it is less sloppy than Dern, so that kind of evens out, at least in my book. But, yeah, like, even without the badonka-donka effect, I do think she has the more eye-catching offense, sadly, even though it's not as good-looking, it's not as varied, and I don't think it's as effective as Hill's. So what are you saying, Dan? You're picking the person with the less... That's exactly what I'm saying, people, because I always pick the more effective striker And it's always the slop shot, fucking heartbreak, split decision that doesn't go my way. And this fighter, even without my fucking juju, Angela Hill, already has the heartbreak, juju, split decision shit going her way. You know what I'm saying? Like, holy fuck, it'll be like the mother of all Seven Sisters Twisters if we link together. I can't do that. I gotta go Ricci here and root for Hill / look for maybe a live opportunity to bet Hill, but I probably won't do that either because even if it makes sense, she could still lose, right? So instead, and the article that I'm midway through writing, because I just fucking so slow at everything, I just can't. I'm in the fucking mud. I'm really. You guys are too good to me, man. You guys are literally some of the things keeping me going. You know, as far as this stuff goes, that is. But yeah, the betting article I'm writing right now and sledging through, I'm pretty much going to say bet the split, just like my last co-main article, which was correct, where I can't bet what I actually found a house that I can bet the women's split on, but they're only going to give me plus 200 when it's usually like a plus 300 to 400 kind of a deal. So of course, but we'll see. But yeah, like the props that I gave, I didn't have access to, and those hit last week, of course, at plus money. The other Fighting Nerds person, Carlos Prates, rounds 1 and 2 for like plus 114. That age well too. But yeah, so bet the split. Just bet the fight goes to split decision. I won't be able to do that. If they allow me to bet Ricci goes to split, because there's like nothing that I'm seeing on here, maybe I'll do that on a round robin if I need something. But I will be rooting for Hill here, folks. I would be picking Hill. I honestly think Hill is going to win this fight, but they're just not going to give it to her. I don't know if I need to pick it. Usually that feels like is what is the prerequisite for those kind of calls to happen. Like the trick is I have to be on it for the fuckery to actually happen. Otherwise, what's the point, right? I mean, why not continually target me with this shit? But yeah, that's the call. Fight ends in split, and begrudgingly taking Ricci in a fight that Hill probably won. I'm gonna cut through the rest of this pretty darn fast. Oh man, there's another fucking soggy dick they're gonna fucking tempt me with. Sons of bitches. All right, I'm gonna just get to you guys real quick. James Kendrick, listen to the Cagecraft podcast. Oh, by the way, shout out to those guys, man. Shout out to Valdur and his host. I want to say his Twitter name. I can't even think of his name. I apologize. My head's everywhere. Shout out to Cagecraft podcast. James Kendrick says, listen to Cagecraft podcast with Ghost on it. He mentioned that Ricci was tagging Loopy with jabs because Loopy doesn't control jabbing line well and plotted forward with the high guard. Yeah, that did happen. They both changed jabs, but I think Ricci needed to be reminded to use hers. But yeah, that did happen. But Loopy, just with some basic boxing improvements and some feints, was able to get and pull out and make Ricci look real uncomfortable. So I'm curious, even though Hill's going to have to shell a lot of her kicks, which I don't like, I'm curious to see what her heavy feinting presence will do. Lazy Bed says, actively smoking Phantom OG, and it was not premeditated. Phantom Punch breakdowns. Nice. Phantom OG, it could be indica, right? Let me know if that's any good. James Kendrick, don't think the jab will be there for Ricci, but she should still try to use the jab against Hill, right? Yeah, I mean, especially she's fighting from orthodox. She's definitely got to have that out there, especially as the shorter fighter who is not necessarily committed with her directionality. Phantom Punch breakdowns. My guy goes Phantom. Says, Dan, you mentioned Ricci being uncomfortable in an orthodox stance. Do you get uncomfortable when you fight in orthodox? Not really these days, to be honest. Like, I feel like I do some things way better, and I regularly go to it. And lately, I've been drilling it a lot because I'm trying to stay off my right hand. So I've been working either just lead crosses and tie kicks and knees from southpaw. And really, I've been mainly I think I did my whole private this week in orthodox, working jabs, hooking off the jab, and setting leg kicks up off the jab, because I will go to orthodox to leg kick some motherfuckers, and my leg is fucking still bruised up from last week from just drilling stuff, actually. But hey, that's not effective striking, right? No, Lazy Bed, what are the odds Angela Hill finally finding her stride at 40 years of age? It would be awesome. I mean, the odds are already in her favor more than most, right? The fact that public money is coming in on a 40-year-old, much less Angela Hill, that's not necessarily a trend I'm used to seeing, to be honest. Kind of surprised by that. Rios is in Truesdale, half guard. I mean, I get it, but, just from those stereotypes of the MMA gambling community, I'm surprised by that. Not that the matchup doesn't, call for it. Rios is in Truesdale. Half guard, underhook, get up, under the ass. Must be easy against Ricci since the ass is very large. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Thank you for reminding me of that, Rio. I think Lupi did it. And so that was a good thing to see. And so I was like, oh, sweet. I think Angela's been going to it lately, right? And then when I went back to watch, I know it got her in some trouble, obviously, against the Dern, but that's maybe perhaps unfair. That is the one spot where Dern should be taking advantage of. But again, that spot that Denise Gomez got her in, that near armbar spot just one fight ago, that was sketch. I can't say for sure because it was a wide swim to that dogfight single leg half guard getup that I always preach about. And Denise Gomez did a good job of heading her off at the pass and catching her early on her side and snatching up the double wrist to arm lock threat, right? Because they connect to one another there. Especially when you get over to your side, that's the dangerous part. I get caught in it all the time, right? If I'm lazy or slow, swimming up to my single, they can catch me at the halfway point where I'm trying to build back up. And my right or my left shoulder, depending on which side I'm leaning, the top side shoulder shows itself like a whale, like a humpback whale coming up for air. They snatch that arm real quick, right? It was one of those situations. So Hill goes for it, which I thought was going to be a good sign, but then when I saw her almost get armbarred from a lesser qualified fighter, I'm like, ooh, that's not a good sign. Not that will happen, but something to keep in mind. Synchro Wing, Angela Hill via split decision draw. That would be awesome. I'll be very happy with that. Yeah, you probably get a decent number on that. But although the books know too, because even though I don't have access to it, I'm seeing plus 400 apiece or plus 500 apiece for either of them to win by split decision. So let's go to Robert Valentin minus 175, Ryan Loader, plus 145. I don't fucking know. It sucks, man. I'm not excited. These guys are tough guys. The Ultimate Fighter, they need to fucking shoot it, but God forbid they need their fucking content. So now I got to go dig through that bullshit, but it's not going to mean fuck all because these were fighters that were deprived from their camp, arguably fighting out of their weight classes because of the quick turnarounds, not fighting at 100%, also not fighting to their normal ways because even though they will actually have the small cage, so that will be the one thing fucking replicable from Tough, they will be without their corners and now back with their corners in places where they tend to grow from fight to fight traditionally with the age range they pull from. But don't get me wrong, folks. I'm sure there's some fucking handicappers that have the edge on it because they watched it, and good for them for watching it, but fuck all. Fuck all you want to bet on that shit. But people are going to bet on it, they're going to cash, and they're going to be fucking geniuses despite all the flags attached. And they would have acknowledged none of them pre-flop. But it doesn't matter. It's not like karma or any of that bullshit is real. And, that's what's rewarded in this space. So, I'll just knock this fight out too, just because of it. Because I think they're together on the fucking card. Let's see here. Let's see what it is. Since I just did one. Con Ofli. I don't even know how to pronounce that shit. Sorry. And Myron Santos. This is the other tough fight. Santos minus 180, Ofli plus 150. Again. Sure, some other podcasts will have a breakdown on it, and I'm sure they'll have much more information than me, but I'm sure none of that information will be any acknowledgement for the fucking red flags because they're going to be fucking geniuses if they hit it, I'm sure, So go follow those spots. They're doing much better. Then we got, who the fuck is next? Wow, Dan, you really happy camper, aren't you, buddy? The Spider-Man Michael Morales shit, which he apparently is embracing because it's all over his Instagram. I gotta go rewatch his last two decisions to see how he actually looked in those decisions, because he would be a guy that you'd want to fade, especially at this price. I mean, obviously it's dog or pass. The question is what my official pick is. Is old Dan Tom gonna get sucked into the plus 575, plus 600 at some places, Magny, or the minus 900 Morales. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know, the guy's trading an Entrim now. Before I just remember him having a long right hand. How much more that he has of that. His takedown defense is good, but I don't know how many people have been trying to take him down. How reliable those people are. It's the small cage. Yeah, man, I don't like this shit at all. They're begging me. They're fucking begging me with Cannonier, Hill. Like, these are my picks. You guys know that those are my picks, right? Like, I would have picked Cannonier. I would have picked Hill. I probably would have played it the same too. I would have picked Cannonier, live bet, and then probably would have still had Ohio by sub in there just to fucking, cover my ass. Like I said, I still would have bet these things the same, but like my picks would be fucking different, I swear to God. Ugh. Fucking assholes. Sorry, I hate that they're making me do this. I'm gonna have to look into that fight more, folks, but obviously it's Magny or pass. Obviously, regardless of who you pick. Next fight, Edmund Shahbazyan. Dan, he's Armenian, not from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Shahbazyan there. Oh yeah, I picked Shahbazyan, sure. Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, Shahbazyan. He's from Westchester originally, but sorry. I went to a little bit of Baltimore there. Sound like the original Landsman. Anyway, sorry. What the fuck are we talking about? GM3, my guy Meerschaert, the other soggy, sorry GM3, the other soggy dick they're gonna tempt me with. Plus 250, Edmund Shahbazyan, minus 310. So straight up, this was gonna be ones on the, I always put the picture for dogs I'm looking at, like, it was gonna be either GM3 or Magny, regardless of what I pick, but, it's probably gonna be GM3. Not that I say I'm gonna pick them, but I'll probably use them for the photo. Because again, even if I do pick Shahbazyan, this is dog or pass, man. I mean, I'll be definitely rooting for GM3, especially because he's got a chance to move up to, I believe, number 2 all time, or tie number 2 all time, I should say, for rear naked choke wins. I believe he's amongst like the 3-way tie with like Brendan Allen and Renato Moicano, maybe. I don't know. No, not Moicano. Moicano's just one under them, I believe. But yeah, Kenny Florian, actually. Kenny Florian's still tied for number 3. How did I forget that? Shout out to my guy Ken Flo there. Another southpaw, like GM3. I don't know if I trust Shahbazyan enough, but at the same time, like we saw with the Tavares, I know everybody fucking... If I could just win one more bet, folks, MMA gods, if you're listening, could it beat Brad Tavares? Because I'm not, like, as much as I'm biased, I actually state my biases. And I don't like betting guys from the gym. And when I do, I don't bet them big. And I don't brag about it. I don't tell you to bet them and so forth. God forbid, try to be fucking responsible and fair. But between just the anger I have, and the comeuppance that so many people on MMA Gambler Twitter have. And I'll hit friends with these strays too, because they've had good enough luck and they would deserve it if they fall victim to this as well. But my God, the fucking shit. And this isn't even MMA analyst Twitter. My analyst friends fucking talk so much shit about Brad Tavares. Oh my God. Brad wins, I am going to be the most annoying motherfucker. Because that guy, I've never said he's like, oh, he's the world beater. He should be top 5. Like, I've never said any of this stuff, folks. But goddamn is he way better than he's given credit for, by all accounts. And I know that his chin's been going and not as strong or whatever by the record. That's fair to say for people want to say that. But it's not like he's fucking super chin. He's not like he hasn't been super fucking durable. And it wasn't like the most like the most questionable one on there is Edmund Shahbazyan, because it was questionable. I mean, that was like well, I'm not gonna say it was fluky. I'm not gonna say that it wasn't replicable. But that doesn't. That's not as a given as much as it should. Just trust me on that. Oh my God, right? But at the same time, even though I'm not trying to discredit that, I'm more trying to just bring credit to the other side, really. Got to admit, right? Shahbazyan could absolutely. Shahbazyan. He could absolutely do that to GM3 here, man. He could absolutely. And GM3, for as much as I like GM3, well, I can defend his chin a whole lot less, right? Than my guy Tavares is, right? I'm being honest, right? So that's an absolute worry. And for that, I imagine the unders juiced but not too produced, minus 120. Under 2.5 is way up there, minus 315. They know better than that, yeah. Yeah, what is fight doesn't start round 2? Fight doesn't end. Why you guys gotta fucking use this verbiage, motherfuckers? Fight doesn't start. No. You guys don't have that, do you, motherfucking cocksucker? Sorry. It doesn't matter anyways. I don't really bet too contrarian to that shit. But yeah, I would like go, maybe GM3 by sub. I put that in like a round robin. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of my pick. But I don't know if I'm going to play sub straight up or play GM3 straight up, even if whether I pick them or not. It's a sketchy. That's going to be the dog to look at there, folks. Moving down. I guess I'll just go to, God damn it, Dennis Bazukja versus Francis Firemines. We're going to be all over the place. It's going to be fun to fucking tag after this. Let's get through this, though. Bazukja, I don't see a fucking line on it. Great. Fantastic. No, I do. There it is. Plus 124. Minus. Francis Marshall getting favorite lines? I wouldn't trust him as a favorite. I know Sarah Longo. I think they had that Shahbazyan-Meerschaert guy recently lost. So I don't know how well they're doing. But then Bazukja kind of change up camps. I don't know. I don't know how well I'll look at that one, folks. Sorry. I won't be too much of a use for you there. Jose Medina versus Zach Reese. Ugh. That was an unfortunate one. Who did Zach Reese fucking upset as well? That just shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. He beat and he totally. Oh yeah, Julian Martin. That was crap. That was more of a case of there's unfair, and then it's like that doesn't end up. But then there's like people being unfair, and then the person ends up like fulfilling the unfair prophecy, which is the fucking worst and very classic, especially, because Dan Tom is usually not on the unfair side. He's like sitting here trying to, God forbid, be like, hey, maybe we could at least, not saying pick or put your money here, but can we at least be fair about it? Eat shit, Dan. And you're a fighter. Okay, fuck. Sorry, it's what if. Folks, you gotta understand. It's like not just a 14-fight skid. It's what was it? I missed a week, so it's like there's a week in there that I took off, so it's 15 weeks winless, and then I won the other fight. Then it was 10 weeks in between that, but it was actually 12 weeks, right? Because I took 2 weeks off to Thailand, so you go 12 weeks plus the one that I won, 13, plus 15, right? That is 28 weeks with only one win. 28 weeks with only one winning Saturday. So forgive me. All right, that was dark. Medina plus 400. Zach Reese 5% sure. I'll probably end up fucking begrudgingly picking Zach Reese. He seems like a nice guy, by the way. That's just results that just don't make sense. The line didn't make sense, and again, the lines didn't make sense. The takes on Julian Marquez didn't make sense, and the takes to justify the hate on Julian Marquez and the bullshit line on Zach Reese sure as shit didn't make sense. But what the fuck was rewarded? What doesn't make sense? We're fucking geniuses. Told you so. Ugh. All right. We got Via Kessler Borshchev and then James Llontop. Fucking jumping all over the place. Llontop plus 185, Borshchev minus 225. Yeah, that's who I was leaning toward anyways as well. I think maybe Llontop looks impressive getting off the bus or something. But I think he was like overly favored, right? And then lost like right away. What is he? It was minus 450 favorite. But didn't he? I thought he fought James. Didn't he fight my guy Justin James? Maybe not. So I'm imagining shit. All right. But yeah, I'd probably lean Borshchev, but I mean, I'm not looking too heavily into that fight. Josiane Nunes versus Jacqueline-Cavalcante. That's going to be on the Southpaw report, but that'll be a short one because Cavalcante has fought 0 UFC level Southpaws. But Nunes is a plus 180 underdog. Wow. I mean, she's broken my heart a bunch of times. So, I mean, I don't know how tempting she'd be, but goddamn, I might still pick her in Talent Master, those fucking odds. I mean, against someone who's, not that proven, I don't believe, but whatever. It's fucking women's MMA. Who the hell is this? Jim Gimantas Ramaska? What the fuck? Versus Nathan Fletcher? Who the fuck are these guys? Are these more tough people, folks? What the fuck, man? Fletcher minus 162, Ramaska plus 136. Okay. I don't know what the fuck to tell you there. And lastly but not leastly, Kong-Wang, or probably Wang-Kong versus Leonardo. Wang-Kong, by the way, I think that's going to be the, with this King Kong universe, that looks so... By the way, I finally saw Godzilla -1. Holy shit, was it awesome. I know I'm late on that, but holy fuck, was that awesome. I mean, some of my only memories of the late 80s was watching black and white Godzilla VHSs with my cousin. So it totally brought back that effect. I would much rather talk about film than MMA these days, folks, so forgive me. But that was fucking awesome. In black and white, it's really good too. Like, it really gives you that nostalgia feel, like almost, yeah, I know I sound hipster as fuck, but I really, really loved it. Only a budget of $15 million. But yeah, with the bullshit Marvel side universe of the fucking Godzilla King Kong universe, I feel like Wang Kong is gonna, because they have to have like a bunch of Chinese actors in it to like satisfy like, they have to have the Chinese release of the movie, for these like big blockbusters. Like they're gonna give like they're gonna do like a Chinese King Kong. It's gonna be a Wang Kong, right? That'll be. He has like a blur. This is like a blur in his crotch area. He does the helicopter. Sorry. Dan, this is why they will never let you direct a kids' film. I would ruin it. There's my analysis. Of course, they definitely bring in Victoria Leonardo to succeed. Unfortunately, poor girl. Looks like a part of the Breakfast Club there. And I'm sure the odds will reflect it. Yep, sure enough, minus 1,200 for I mean, they're lining her like she's Wang Kong, like the character I just described is going to come in there like dicks out for Harambe style and smash her apparently at this line. Plus 750 on Victoria Leonardo. All right, how did I do on time? Oh, wow, I still went an hour. How bad do I fucking suck? Did I really still go over an hour on this shit card somehow? How the fuck did I go over an hour? Half that's got to be fucking Cannonier. All right, I'm gonna recap the chat and get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry, guys. I can't do anything right. Let's go. You guys are awesome. Way too kind, man. Thank you, Dan Mack, for the super chat. You guys I don't be deserving that shit. Sammy Arnett, Ryan Loader. Sorry. I also finally watched Easy Rider, and so I have that soundtrack in my head, and that song, put your load for free, whatever that. Take a load off, Annie. Ooh, put your load right on. I can't want to say. I don't want to get screenshot, but I remember this old guy singing it one day when I was checking people out at the grocery store I used to work at. It was like the morning crowd, so people like regulars getting their coffee and shit. And the song was on, and this creepy old guy. I don't know why. I had the Asian twink face. The creepy old guys love me. And the song was singing, and it was like that part where it goes, oh, put the load right on me. Right? That whole swinging part. And I'm like, check this lady out. There's just like, getting her coffee. And all of a sudden, the old guy, Phil, rest his soul, he's dead now. He goes, Daniel? I turned around, I'm like, what's up, Phil? He goes, right when the song was singing, he's looking up at the speaker, and he looks down at me, he goes, you can put your load right on me. I was like, and I just go fucking wide. I look right over at the customer, and she's like, her eyes go wide. She's like, get me the fuck out of here. I'm like, I'm sorry. He's a fucking creep. Here's your coffee. Sorry, apropos of nothing. Ryan Loader. That's what that reminded me of. James Kendrick, the only other fighter I know, and you wonder why you go long, you stupid motherfucker, Dan. James Kendrick says, the only other fighter I know on this card is Wang Kong. She went to a split decision against Valentina in kickboxing and has a body jab. All right, look at more now. This is why my chat's so awesome. You know what I'm saying? This is why you guys are so fucking awesome. You guys aren't even working tonight, and you're doing more work than me. Look at you, motherfuckers. You're so good. I appreciate you. James, you the man. Jimmy Kudo, I wasn't around during the Bulls era in the 90s, but I saw The Last Dance and how bad 33 Scottie Pippen was treated by the fans and organization, so I like that reference. My man, you guys know, just by that alone, that of course Dan Tom has a soft spot for the underdogs, the overlooked, those who deserve the credit, those who got maybe an unfair bad rap. I wonder why I relate to them. I wonder why. Anyways, thank you, Jimmy Cody. You're the man. Real Susan Truesdale. I listened to Chris Prisnell podcast on Asian MMA. Wang Kong is actually pronounced Wang Tong. The C's are T's in Mandarin. Wang Tong. There we go. Wang Tong. I will take that. Let's see. I don't know if Annick's calling this one, but let's see how the broadcast. Yeah, now let's really see how the broadcast pronounces it. But I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys think I would know these things better, but that's the like I was telling my guy Fenyo, we were kind of discussing how like not that I ever wanted to be considered I definitely never want to be considered a handicapper. Not that I ever wanted to be like in the MMA betting crowd, but like it's clear like that crowd it's not for me. For both my, by the way, it's a mutual thing. Like both my sensibilities, right, standing alone. And if we take my feelings out of it, like, I clearly am not welcome there, right? Like, maybe there's like a couple people who, for whatever reason, still fuck with me. But, like, you know, and this, because that was the thing, too. It was just like, you know, I kind of just, like, been over it, like, with, like, just a lot of ladder climbers in the space, you know, people that, like, they're in your DMs, they ask you for help and advice, and then they become too cool for school, and they only want to interact with big accounts. And you notice that not only are they not like even like sharing, which no one has to share my stuff, but like you notice they don't share anybody's stuff. They only have all this ladder climbing bullshit out there, you know. And so I get it, and like I'm busy, I get it. Like there's so many people's like Patreons that I want to both pay for and read. Like I am behind on my guy Ghost Phantom stuff. Like I get it, you know what I'm saying? Like I would be upset, or not be upset. I wouldn't take it personal, but like it would suck if Ghost Phantom was mad at me for not being able to catch up on his stuff. Thankfully, Ghost Phantom is just a super understandable dude who we don't deserve in the space. He's too cool. So I got to keep that same energy too, right? And be like, you know what? I get that. However, that being said, and as much as I get that, back to this original point I'm drawing, and we'll get the fuck out of here. Like I noticed, I'm like, man, a lot of the analysts, I'm like, I don't, because like for me, it's not, again, it's not even about the subscription. It's not about the shares, right? It's not about the vainness of the ego or the monetary side. I'm a weird guy out of principle, though, right? And like having respect amongst your peers does mean something. So even though I might shit on the MMA gambling community, they're still my peers. I still work in the space. I'm no better. I'm not on some fucking high horse, right? And obviously, I'm an analyst. That's what I mainly consider myself. So yeah, I definitely belong to that space as well. But not just because I'm weird and I'm not everybody's cup of tea, which I get and is totally cool, by the way. But it was being informed to me that not just that, right, which is totally understandable, but a lot of the analysts see me as like a betting guy, which sucks because like I don't want to be considered a betting guy, right? And the betting guys don't see me as a betting guy. They see me as an analyst, as a nerdy analyst, right? But I'm not nerdy enough for that. I'm a betting guy. I'm a wacky psycho fucking junkie nut, which, you know, fair. but like you get the predicament, which is that's the, and for those of you not Asian American, that's the Asian American struggle, where it's like, Dan, shouldn't you know these Asian grammar things, right? And it's like, well, that's the thing. It's like we're not, because we're so busy trying to assimilate and be the fucking model minorities and just not get our ass kicked and survive and not be crushed like capitalism like everybody else, plus all the other bullshit we have to go through as Asians, Asian Americans, people of color, whatever the fuck you want to say, right? But yeah, we're not really in touch with that. So we are too American when we go over to Asia, right? Like I can do my best to like kind of blend in as best as I can in Thailand, but it's only a matter of time till my American ass sticks out, right? I've been to China. I've been to Asia, folks, multiple times. Too American for Asia, right? But even though I was born here, born and bred American, family fought for this country. My family gave life for this fucking country. Disproportionate so. God damn it. I'm not American. Forget being American enough. Too Asian, man. I look too Asian. I look too alien. I look too different. So it was nice to be enlightened this week. It was like, oh, it's not just because I'm weird and I might suck and all these other things why a lot of even my own fellow analysts aren't really into my stuff. I'm like, oh, it's because I am to a lot of them apparently, especially a lot of the younger analysts. They see me too much on the gambling side, and they don't dig that. Even though, like you guys, plenty of you guys don't gamble and are still able to enjoy, ingest, and whatnot. So I guess that's not an excuse, but still, it just excuse or not, whether they come here or not, whether they share things, that's not the point. The point is, it sucks not to have respect. A, the respect to your peers, and then I guess B, it sucks. Just to kind of always just constantly. Not just be misjudged, but just never feel like it's like, oh yeah, I wonder why I feel like I never have a home. Like, I forget the adoption and house hopping bullshit as a kid, but like, you just see like you don't fit in America, you don't fit in Asia, you don't fit in this group, you don't fit in that group. It's just a theory that's been all too prevalent. Oh, buddy, you okay? I'm gonna get my buddy medicine. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Let's recap the picks, please. Get the fuck out of here, huh? Shall we? All right. Taking Ohio over Cannonier. Freudian slips here. Taking Ricci over Hill. Taking, I don't care, who knows. Check me on Quick Picks, because I have to fucking look at these stupid tough fights for Loader-Valentin. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck between Ofli-Santos? But I'll have to look into that. You have to find me on Fight Day to see what my picks are, or Substack, or MMA Junkie, or all the many places that I will have to repetitively write these takes. Morales over Magny, or maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Values on Magny is dog or pass. I don't know if I'm going to take Shahbazyan over Meerschaert. I took this long and I can't even give you guys solid picks and plays. What the fuck was I doing this whole time? Fucking somebody shoot me. Seriously, please. But yeah, the values obviously on GM3. We'll see where I end up. Yeah, I'll have to see. Look into at least a little more to make a pick. But I'm tempted to pick Bazukja over Marshall, because he was training for the day. I'll take Reese over Medina. I think that's safe to say. Borshchev over Llontop. I think that's safe to say. We'll see. If I do pick Nunes, I won't be playing her. It'll be more like a Tout Master thing over Cavalcante, but we'll see there. I guess I'll take Fletcher over Ramaska, just because I hate trying to pronounce that guy's name. Wang Tong over Leonardo. As far as plays go, I'm probably going to, even though it's a shit number, I'll probably just play the plus 200 if fight ends in split for the co-main between Ricci and Hill. Again, inside the distance or by sub. Definitely sub Kyle by sub in the round robin. And I will look for live betting opportunities on Cannonier. Definitely probably going to put, for the culture, GM3 by sub in the round robin. But I don't know if I'm going to pick or play him. Same with Magny. I don't know if I'm going to pick or play him, but the value feels there. And those are the only fights that really interest me, because after having to go through Tough and then having to go through Victoria Leonardo's 2 southpaw fights, 3 technically, because she fought Miranda Maverick twice on the regionals. So 3 fights I got to look through for that. Plus, Medina didn't face any southpaws, even though Reese switched anyways. And Shahbazyan. I gotta go do his southpaw report too, which is, who knows if anybody. I don't know. Yeah, check me at Dan Tom MMA. Love you guys. Don't deserve you. Appreciate you. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for all the love. Hit the like button, shares if you want. Me and Fenyo will see you in the post fight. That'll be much better because Fenyo will be there and you guys won't be stuck with me. So see you guys next time. Always protect your neck.